everyone, welcome to our Facebook live stream. We are streaming live from the kitchen, and later on we're going to be going over to the next studio. Better not say that or Ola will change us up there, and we don't want that to happen. So we're trying new technology today, bear with us. Let us know if you can't hear, we'll see if we can do any better, and we're just going to keep going and let us know how we're doing. Today we are going to be cooking two things in the kitchen because they're nice and simple. We're going to be cooking cheese straws, and Aisha's made them today. They look amazing, really simple as well. And then we're going to be doing a mug cake. Just a reminder, last week was our Eye Health Week, and we had really interesting comments from David Barker. Let us know what you thought about that, who else you'd like to come on. Just keep us informed, and we will take that into consideration when we're planning our next events. And just pop any comments in the stream and we'll get to them as you go. Ines is sitting here ready and waiting to pass all your comments over to me because my comment stream in here has just gone down. So I'm going to hand over to Aisha. I've got all the instructions though, so I'll be looking at them for her.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Facebook Live. So
what are we starting with?
We're starting with the cheese strings.
Yep, and so we've done a little bit of prep.
Yes.
We have got our chopping board ready.
Yeah.
And it's the only time I use a glass.
Yeah, so I'm just taking the ready roll puff pastry. We've actually got gluten-free normal.
So because we've got gluten-free pastry, we're having a few little challenges because it's not quite as springy as it would be if it was non-gluten-free pastry.
Yeah. Oh, this is all we could find in the shops.
But so, as we said, works with any pastry.
Any pastry. So I've just done that. So what I'm going to do next now, I'm going to sprinkle the cheese. We've got matchup cheddar, but you can use any cheddar.
Okay.
Gloucester?
Yeah, Red Leicester, Gloucester, Parmesan, any sort of cheese that you'd like to use.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go, and we've just laid out the pastry, unrolled it, and we're going to put cheese on half of the pastry because we're going to fold it over like a book. Bob, I've seen your comment. I'm going to get Ines to type. We're trying new technology. Ines already answered you. Yeah. I think that's because Ola's walking around with the laptop that's running all of this, and it's made it freeze a little bit as he's walked through the building. Hopefully it's all back and stable again.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for letting us know, Bob. Anything like that, let us know. It makes our life easier because we can't always tell when it's freezing our end or freezing your end.
So just a very interesting comment from Maxine saying that she's never heard of Christmas mug cake.
It's really easy. All you need is a mug and the ingredients.
And the ingredients. So we just cover half of the pastry with the cheese. We're going to fold it over.
So we like a book, we're folding it over, so short edge to short edge rather than long edge to long edge, just because it's easier to fold the shorter end than it is the longer end.
Yeah.
And then I have one thing to say to Aisha, you need to roll this further and don't be afraid to press hard because you're trying to push the cheese into the pastry.
Okay, I'm just going to turn it.
So Aisha rotated the pastry from sort of a portrait into a landscape, just so that it's easier to roll out on a board. She's got more space to roll.
So I'm just going to really...
that's good. I can see it squishing. You don't have to roll it all in one go. You can roll and turn and roll and turn.
So I'm just trying to
push the cheese
down.
into...
Yeah.
Is
that very heavy? Is that very difficult?
What, this? No.
Aisha's got a light rolling pin. If you've got a heavier rolling pin, sometimes it's easier, but you don't always want to overpress.
Yeah. Is that okay?
That's really good.
Yeah.
If need be, we can always roll them a little bit once we've done the next stage.
Yeah.
So the next stage is to cut them into strips. So again, going down the shortest edge you've got. And they need to be about 1 centimetre, or in old money, about ½ an inch. big. It's about the only conversion I can do. So we rolled it till it was about as thick as a pound coin, we were told.
Yeah, so is it
And
this size?
yeah, about that size, Aisha, that looks good.
Yeah, so you need
And
to, like,
if
really...
it starts coming apart as you cut it, you haven't quite rolled it enough.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a bit more rolling to squish it together. And you can use your hands. Nothing wrong with using your hands to press it together.
Yeah, that's it.
I think you need me to be heavy-handed and do some rolling there, Aisha.
I know, you do.
So we're just cutting them into our 1 centimetre strips. It's really rough. You don't have to be precise. I've got some here that are much thicker than others.
Yeah.
And I think what we'll do is once we've cut them, we're going to give them a little bit of an extra roll to make sure that cheese is really pushed down. Because I found that easier than rolling as a big block.
Yeah.
So what cheese would be your favourite to put in a cheese straw? That's my question out to the audience. Because we've used mature cheddar because that's what we've got left over. But you could deliberately buy cheese you want, or you could buy... you could use leftover cheese. That's the idea of cheese straws is use leftovers.
Anything that you have.
Anything you have on hand.
Parmesan cheese will really taste
Yeah,
nice.
Parmesan cheese would really taste nice, and it goes stringy if you ate them hot.
Yeah.
The idea behind cheese straws is you eat them cold though. Or you're getting a bit thick there, they'll be more difficult to twist. So the reason you want them nice and thin is because when it comes to twisting, it's easier to twist them if they're thinner. If they're thicker, it's going to be a bit more difficult to do that twist, which makes them look interesting when you cook them.
Makes them look pretty.
What would be the most appropriate for the festive season? What do you think?
Ooh, for me, there's got to be some bacon in there. If you're going to add other ingredients, make sure they're dry, not wet. So you can get bacon bites that are pre-fried and dry, they would work, or onion if you want to do a cheese and onion. Anything you fancy, really.
Okay. So it's interesting because Maxine is saying cheddar or
Would you like me to
mature-
roll them?
Please.
I'm listening.
Maxine is saying cheddar or mature Parmesan cheese. Robert or Bob saying mature cheddar is the best.
See, I've now been having the rolling pin because I'm a bit heavy-handed, which is what you need to be for this. She's a little bit delicate with her what do you call it?
Which one? The
Pastry.
Pastry.
Because normally you have to be delicate with pastry. I'm just,
Yeah,
I was
just
putting a little bit of flour on my rolling pin so it doesn't stick.
That's what I was going to say. In order to avoid sticking, you put the flour.
Flour on the rolling pin, yeah.
Do you have any other advice?
Another thing you can do is you can put cling film over your rolling pin. That's really good if you've got to do lots of things. So I'm just going to cut these and hand them to Aisha. Oh no, I'm going to cut them all first and then we'll move things around so you can see us twisting them on the tray. Would you like me to twist them or are you?
Yes, please. It's twisting.
That's okay, we're working together here. I've been allowed to cook in the kitchen. I'm really excited. Aisha only normally lets me talk about cooking, not do the actual cooking.
Oh, wow.
Well,
So
it's Christmas anyway.
it's Christmas,
so.
it's my Christmas present. So because this pastry is a little bit flaky, it's coming apart a bit. I'm just squishing it back together with my fingers, pressing it down, that's fine. You're not going to damage it. I'm just going over those lovely cuts Aisha made earlier. I'm going to cut that one a bit more.
Yes.
And these are easy. Once we've done this, we twist them onto the tray and then we pop them in the oven. Oh no, I've missed a step, haven't I? We dust them with cheese and then we pop them in the oven.
Oh, tell us about that. Dusting them.
So really, you just get some cheese from your bag. Again, any cheese, Parmesan, cheddar. We're going to use the cheddar because it's what we've got. There we are. There we are. And we popped it on just half, so when we folded it in half, it didn't go everywhere. Just going to move a few things around so that you can watch the twisting more than me taking it off of the tray. So I'm going to take them off flat and lay them in the tray, and I start twisting in the middle and just continue about 3 times till it's a spiral. They will flatten as they cook. You don't have to do this step just makes them look pretty, but they'll taste just as good without the twist. if you're using non-gluten-free pastry, I get my peas mixed up sometimes, this step will be a lot easier. So it's twisting them, I'm trying to think what it's twisting them like a spiral staircase.
Yeah, or like the DNA.
Or a DNA double helix, yeah?
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
a good one.
we're having
Yeah.
posh cheese straws. They're DNA cheese straws.
We have a very good comment from Bob who's saying we're gonna pizza wheel cutter.
Yes, I was
Yes.
going to come to that, Bob. Thank you so much. Yes, if you have a pizza cutter, that will make cutting them even easier because it's made to cut things that are
Yeah.
not necessarily straight. The Parmesan would also be easier than the cheddar because it's a little bit stickier.
Yeah.
So it would help. I'm just going to scoot these a bit closer together because I'm running out of room.
Yeah.
They don't have to be far apart. They're not going to spread, unlike your biscuits when you do them. When I'm picking them up, I'm just pushing them together with my fingers so that all the cheese sticks. There we are. And as you can tell, I'm not being very careful about them all looking identical. They're all unique and individual cheese straws with about 4 or 5 twists. That was a really good one.
Yeah, it is.
Obviously, I should talk whilst I'm doing this more often because they're getting better.
They are very interesting actually. The more irregular they look.
Yeah.
Oh, so that one came apart. So all I'm going to do is put it flat, just press it down with my fingers, and twist again. When I hand this over, Aisha's putting them in the oven. I don't get allowed to play with the oven.
No.
I'll probably burn myself.
It's just me.
Should always be very careful when using ovens, especially if you're using someone else's oven.
Yeah.
So our recipe,
They're all
I'm going to put this
different
last one here
yeah.
flat because it broke
Yeah.
and I don't have much room. Let's see if I can just that a bit way. And I'm going to do the last 2 flat, just because you don't have to twist them. And I'm going to hand back over to Aisha, who's doing the next step.
Yeah. So we're just gonna sprinkle some cheese
Over the top.
Over the top.
Don't be too careful, you just want a little bit of cheese on all of them.
Yeah.
Probably about 2 handsful. And this is where, if you're using something like red Leicester, it would look really interesting because you have 2 different coloured cheeses.
Yeah, I think that's about it. That's done.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
And
so-
then they get popped into our oven, which we've preheated to about 220 degrees.
Yeah.
And they cook for about 12 minutes, was it?
Yeah. 12 to 15
12 to
minutes.
15
yeah.
minutes.
So that's
So
done.
whilst Aisha's popping them in the oven, I'm just going to move all of the stuff we've been cooking with out of the way so that we can go on to our mug cake.
Just
We're not
putting my
cleaning up on it.
gloves on.
So always use oven gloves when putting things in the oven. Some things we made earlier. And Aisha's just going to pop all of that in the oven. I'm just moving some stuff out of the way. That's fine. And the next thing we're going to make is our Christmas mug cake. So I'm going to read instructions and Aisha's doing this time because this requires actual cooking. The first thing, what we've done, we've measured out all our ingredients. So we have got a tablespoon of butter that's in our mug already. We have got 8 tablespoons of mixed dried fruit. A lot of fruit in a Christmas cake. 1 medium egg. 3 tablespoons of dark brown soft sugar. It works best with dark brown because that's what gives you the colour of a Christmas cake, that really dark brown colour.
Yeah.
But if you've only got Demerara caster sugar, it will taste just as good. We've got half a teaspoon of nutmeg and cinnamon because we didn't go out and buy mixed spice. So you can use any spices you've got. And then the last thing is 1 tablespoon, only 1 tablespoon of flour. Self-raising flour because it will all raise in the mug. The way you make a mug cake is you make it in a microwave. So all you need is a microwave, a big mug, so it has to be over 350 millilitres.
Like this.
And the ingredients and a fork. You can do the rest of it without. So the first thing we're going to do, and we've taken a few of the ingredients out. We're not putting the brandy around the fruit, which you could do if you wanted to, but we're having an alcohol-free cake. Is we need to pop the butter in the microwave for 10 seconds at a time until it's all melted.
Okay, that's great. One thing I want to say, also
Sorry.
Reminders that she's never heard of mud cake again.
Yeah.
So this is quite exciting. It's new for us. So we might have to go a little bit.
We can go more slowly.
With the instructions and reminding us
Yeah.
which ingredients we need
So
to
10
buy.
seconds.
So 10 seconds at a time, we put our 1 tablespoon of butter, and when it says butter, we cheated. We used margarine.
Okay.
Because you can use what you've got in your cupboard. You don't have to buy the blocks of butter.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to worry about being salted or unsalted. Whatever you put on your toast in the morning is fine. And we're just going to do 10 seconds at a time until our butter is melted in the microwave. You do it nice and slowly, because otherwise you burn your butter. And this is just making it so it's easier to mix all our ingredients together. Just a little bit simpler rather than worrying about it. Let's have a look at it first. Oh, I'm just looking at it already. I actually have a mug cake book, and I've been going through it, making them. I've got a lot of chocolate ones that require cocoa. So if you want to know more about mug cakes, contact me, Catherine, directly. I can give you some recipes that work really well. They have to be a little bit wetter than the ones you make in a microwave, but they taste really nice.
This is really, everyone is learning about mud cake today. Even Anna explained she hasn't heard about it either, so none of us are.
Mug cakes are really good if you're the only one eating a cake and you want to have a homemade cake, because otherwise you've got to have a whole, you've got to make yourself a whole cake, and that's not good for your waistline because you eat the whole cake. This is just a 1 egg cake, and most people don't have a cake tin small enough for 1 egg.
Yeah.
You can't buy them. The thing I use is baked bean tins, but it requires 2 baked bean tins for 1 cake. So we've got molten butter.
It's all melted.
So that took us about 40 seconds, was it?
Yeah, about that.
And the next thing we're going to add is the egg, sugar, mixed spice, cinnamon and vanilla. Everything apart from the flour.
So we're going to add it.
I'll hold the flour over here.
Egg, 1 egg.
Yeah, 1 egg. So we have a bowl here. If you're ever worried about cracking your eggs, crack them into a bowl first, and then you don't have to worry. I'm stepping away because the bin's underneath me.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about shell anywhere.
And
I'd probably actually put the flour, the sugar and spices in first.
Just a note, if there is time at the end, Maxine would like to hear a bit more about the chocolate.
Oh, okay. I'm sure I can tell you about the chocolate mug cake whilst we're cooking this one.
Yeah, thank you,
okay, next.
And then the spices. And then once they're all in, you mix them all together. I'd probably use a fork because you get to you beat it a bit better. But I'm going to take I'm going to take the cling film away. I'm going to be in charge of that.
And then I'm going to put the.
Well, I'd mix it first just to make sure. It doesn't say in the ingredients, but because I do cakes, I always like to mix my stuff before I put the fruit in. If I was doing this in a cake tin, I'd always put my fruit into my flour because that stops the fruit from sinking when you cook a cake.
Okay.
Just can you please remind us how much spice and currants?
Okay, so we have added so far the tablespoon of butter, a medium egg, 3 tablespoons of dark brown sugar, and half a teaspoon of both of our spices. We used nutmeg and cinnamon. And the mixed fruit, because it's mixed fruit, it's sultanas, currants, and candied peel. If I'd had the luxury mixed fruit, it would have the cherries in it as well, but I didn't have that at home. It's 8 tablespoons worth of that. It's more fruit than anything else.
Yeah.
So I just, whilst I've been talking, pop that in, mix that up with the fork, and then we're going to add our flour.
So the flour is the last
1 tablespoon only. I always worry when it says only 1 tablespoon.
I know.
But I would always make sure you've got slightly more flour, because you can always look and say, even to me that looks a little bit wet for a mug
think we
cake.
could put a little bit
Well,
more.
we'll mix it up and we'll have a look.
Let's see.
And just one question here from Bob is, what's the sell-by date? I mean, how long does it keep?
Really, it's eat on the day you make it.
So you say
Or maybe
maximum
maybe the next day or
24
so.
hours?
24, you've probably got 24 hours from the time you've made it.
Maybe a bit more flour.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say we're gonna add probably half a tablespoon more of flour. I think that's my pink measure. We can read it. I brought my measuring spoons in because Aisha always uses. We can use plain flour. That'll work.
Okay.
It's good one. So I've got a set of measuring spoons that are all different colours, so we can tell which one it is. We're going to use the pink one, which is the half tablespoon, and I'm just popping that in, just because it looks a little wetter than I would normally expect it to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to pop that in the flour bowl. Mug cakes are always wetter than it would be if it was a normal cake anyway, because cooking in a microwave is a bit peculiar.
Okay, is that okay?
That looks how my mug cakes normally do.
Okay, yeah, it looks better. Okay,
Another
that's
question,
done.
I think Anna is asking, how do you serve it?
My answer is I eat it from the mug with a spoon.
Oh, right, so you don't put it on a plate?
You can do
you
so.
can,
We haven't greased it, so it won't come out easily. The idea is usually you eat your mug straight from the cake. If you're being nice, you might share it with someone. You might tip it out and
Yeah, so
and
that's
then
done. And then what?
the eggs. We need to cook it for what power is our microwave?
I'm not even sure.
So if it's a 600 watt, I think it's a higher than that. If it's 600 watt, it's 3 minutes 20 seconds. If it's 800 watt, it's 3 minutes, and if it's 1,000, it's 240. So we'll pop it in for 3 minutes.
Okay.
And we will see what we have a cake when it comes out.
Right.
So Aisha's using our talking microwave, I hope you heard it talk to you.
Right. So I'm gonna put it for 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Okay.
Actually, I have to be honest, I didn't. Bob is actually being very cheeky today.
Oh, how cheeky is Bob being?
Bob, as always, cheeky Bob.
What is he saying?
He sent me a note saying, what's the shell by day?
The shell. Oh, okay, Bob.
I know, but apparently it was
That's
actually-
We didn't look at the date on the
eggs.
on the eggs. Sorry, Bob, but they were in date. We won't be leaving them for too long. So you want to know about the chocolate mug cakes, did you?
Yes.
So they're very much basically the same way we've just made this fruit cake. You melt your butter. You then add all your other ingredients. So it might be walnuts if it's a coffee and walnut cake. It could be cocoa if it's a chocolate cake. If it's a rocky road, you might be adding marshmallows. And you add the rest of them all in, mix it all together really well, and then pop it in the microwave for the appropriate time, different for all of them. And a lot of these cakes in my book tell you how to ice them afterwards. We're not doing the icing today, we're just doing the cooking. So approximately how long have our straws been in? We're just keeping on they're not quite ready yet. They haven't quite gone golden brown yet, so we're just waiting.
12 to 15 minutes, so yeah.
So are there any more questions? As I said, we just used the fruit that I had left over from making my Christmas cakes this year. I didn't have any cherries left over. Very rarely have cherries left over. But if you had fresh cherries, you could pop them in. If you had, as I said, the luxury fruit generally tends to have cherries in it as well. That makes it easier. Just buy one. And always just make sure you've got the same amount of fruit it says. So on my recipe it said 6 tablespoons of fruit, 1 of glacé cherries and 1 of candied peel. So that's 8 tablespoons. So instead of doing 6 tablespoons of each, I did 8 tablespoons altogether.
What was, apart from say the chocolate and the one with cherries, what are the other top choices?
Oh, I do like the coffee and walnut cake. I've made that a couple of times. Requires instant coffee in that one, so you make an instant coffee mix really strong and pour that in the mixture and then pour it over the top. What other ones have I made? The carrot cake. It requires less grating of carrots because I love a carrot cake, I just never have the energy to grate the amount of carrots a full carrot cake takes.
And can you make a Christmas cake a day before Christmas?
So I would say because this is a fruit cakes tend to keep longer than sponge cakes. So I made a cake with this recipe, but I cooked it in an oven, and it lasted for over a week once it was in an airtight container.
Okay.
So it should last as long as you keep it in an airtight container, and it shouldn't go soggy. It will not put. Cakes cooked in a microwave are slightly different, is what I'm going to say. So let's have a look at the cake.
That's a 3-minute girl.
Oh, it rose a huge amount. I saw it peeking out. Oh, I can smell the nutmeg. So I'm going to tilt it to. I'm going to tilt it towards the camera.
Okay.
Mug cakes always. I can't see what I'm doing because I can't see what's happening. I have to wait for 10 seconds till I catch up. So it's got a frothy top. It's come away from the edges, which is usually the sign that it's fully cooked. But it's still a little bit talky to me. We could probably no, not even a minute, maybe 20 seconds.
20 seconds, okay.
So we're just going to pop it in for another 20 seconds to make sure it smells yummy, Maxine. You can really smell the nutmeg because that's what we had in stock, so we used it. You don't have to follow a recipe. As long as your quantities are the same, feel free to experiment.
We could try to like.
We're going to try and tip it out and see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because
Sure. It looks
like it should come out because it's come away from the edges nicely.
Yeah.
There we are. So we're going to try just all we should need to do, and be very careful once you take it out of a microwave.
So
Please only touch it by the handle, not the mug, because it's going to be very, very
hopefully
hot.
This is the moment.
Oh, this is the moment. It's going to come out and lift.
Wow.
So here is our very simple, less than 10-minute Christmas cake. So we've got to leave it to cool before we do anything else. We're not going to ice it today because we can't leave it to cool enough. And I've got to come over here and I've got to do a gesture because I've got to pass over to Ola up in the tech studio and he needs to know, but he can't hear me because I'm in a 10-second delay. So if I'm standing here smiling for 10 seconds, don't worry. I'm going to say now, and over to the tech studio, and I'm going to smile and wait.
Good afternoon members. I hope you can hear us. So we have here today, I've got Chaz, who is on my left, and Chaz is one of our dear volunteer, a member. He wears many hats really. And on my right I have Michaela. Michaela's been with us since September, and we thought, what better week to bring her in, right? Year end, reviewing the year. So Michaela is our Children and Young People Officer. And just want to give a little bit of a description of what we have. So you all know that we're in this nice elite studio that we now have. And obviously I'm Susanette, for those who don't know me. And so our background today, on my left, we have our Christmas tree. And the background we have is snowing, which, looking at the weather today, there's nothing of snow happening in London, but we just have this clear background that is just snowing, and it's blue and sprinkles of snow falling. So what are we going to do today? We thought, what a year this has been. You know, I mean, we can all concur about it and say it has been a year. And we've learned so much, I'm sure, from each other, by ourselves as well, our community. And we've also experienced some pain, some challenges. And so we thought, let's have some real conversation about 2020. Let's reflect on it. And also let's look at where 2021 is heading to. And that's the sort of conversation we're going to have. I'm going to be asking questions. My colleagues here are going to ask me questions as well. We're going to be asking you questions. And we've got on the tech team today, we've got Natasha, who's on comment, and we've got Ola, who is the techie, as you all know. Yeah, so they're both smiling. So yes. Now, I had this first question, which I was talking about earlier, which is, it was the 16th of March. We knew lockdown was going to happen. And you woke up the following morning. How did you feel? Should I start with you, Chaz? How did you feel? And how did you feel about it? And how is it compared to when lockdown 2 was announced?
I didn't feel upset about it.
Yeah.
But the most astonishing thing where I live in Foley, that there was no traffic and there was no noise.
Right.
which really surprised me. I have never experienced that because I've been a postman who gets up early hours in the morning. And when I got up on that day, it was quite early, and there was a lovely bird song, but that was it. There was no traffic, there was no children going to school, and the roads were bare. That's my first impression of the 16th
Wow.
Oman.
Yeah.
A very, very strange experience, you know.
Yeah.
And just to equate that, if I can, when I visited my wife's family that were killed in the first two wars, we went to the cemeteries all around Germany and Holland, and the same experience was there, an absolute stillness. It's the stillness that really shook me.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes. Did you feel the same with lockdown too? Or was it a different?
No, it was a lesser impact.
Yes. Yeah.
Much a lesser impact than
Yeah.
the first year.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. What about you, Michaela?
I think I can agree with Chaz. I think it felt surreal. It's kind of that moment where you're a little bit lost because you don't actually know what's going on. You don't actually know what to do. And you don't actually know, at that
True.
moment, we didn't know how long it was going to last, even though we were told it was only going to be a short period. So I think my reaction was to try and feel as normal as possible, but understand that things will change, and I just have to wait and see when that will come into effect.
Yeah.
And that was the scary part for me, because it's one thing to know that we've been told something is coming. When you don't know anything about what's coming or what is happening, it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And also,
Yeah.
I live in an area that's quite, it's quite urban, it's quite busy, and the quietness, the stillness, even from the children that play on our street, they weren't even out.
Wow.
So, you know, that, because I think parents at first would have obviously been
Yes.
confused about what to do. So that quietness, that stillness is eerie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
suppose it's the uncertainties as well,
Mhm.
isn't it? There's something someone said that if you're at the airport and they said flight all delayed and you don't know how long it is,
Yeah.
there's an uncertainty that holds you.
Mhm.
When you know it's 3 hours delay, then yeah, you know it's 3 hours.
Exactly.
Go to the restaurant, go to a gift shop, or go do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And by the time, but when you don't know, there's something about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's what someone was describing. It's the humanness in us.
Right.
Uncertainties are not something we deal with. very
Yes.
well.
It's a strange feeling.
It is
Yeah.
a strange feeling.
Yeah. So, members, we were having this conversation and saying, how would you describe this year in three to 5 keywords? If you can let us know, that would be great. I'm sure everyone so far in here, we have insane, awesome, patience, eye-opening. I can add growth into it, challenges, everything stormy, but God is able, in a sense. So there's definitely been time. So we really want this to be a real conversation in the sense of, I was writing a brief yesterday, and I was using Charles Dickens' novel, which is it was the worst of times, it was the best of times. And it talks about how dark and light, and it's pretty much in many ways, one way or the other, people have felt it
Yes.
this year, that it has had that element of challenges, yet it's an eye-opener, as you said. It's stillness, as you said, Chaz. So I mean, in that whole process, or through that process, I know you were looking for work, or
Yes.
you were looking for a change.
Yeah.
How did you find that process?
So, I'll be honest, stressful.
Right.
Very stressful, because it's one thing to be told now there is going to be a change which is going to impact every industry, every sector, and then it's another thing to kind of work out where you fall in that when you're trying to look for a change in your career or a step further in your career. And it was the feeling of so am I gonna have to wait until next year? Because this was the beginning of 2020, and this was meant to be that year for everyone, you know. So I just actually had an interview. I'd got into a third stage interview with Apple, and then they had said, oh, we can't do the next rounds of interviews because we don't know what's going to happen. So when you hear big companies or industries saying that, you're just like, right, so what am I meant to, what do I do? What am I meant to say? But Creative Vision is a blessing. It really is, because when I was applying for jobs, it went from applying for jobs in my sector, in my industry, to just kind of applying for what I could.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I would get a job that I wanted, and I did. Like, by getting this job at Creative Vision, it was a position I wanted, but I literally applied for it and thought, I'm not going to get that, and just forgot about it. And so to hear back and hear that I've actually gotten the job was just, after everything that had happened, I was like over the moon. I couldn't believe that it happened. So yeah, it was a stressful time, but that changed, that turned around when I actually felt like I'd accomplished something this year, and that's a big deal. The feeling of going through stress, going through loss, going through negativity, but then having support and feeling like, you know, you've actually accomplished something in really dark times, it's amazing. It means a lot more, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many applications would you say you put through, or how many interviews did you go through in that
So
process?
I went through 4 interviews. That was the interviews face to face were at the beginning of the year, and then they tried to do Zoom interviews or over the phone interviews that happened during the lockdown period. But application wise, I can't even tell you how many I was doing a day,
Yes.
because I just got the app on my phone and I was like, I've got to shoot everything out, you know, at one time. So that's why I honestly applied for Creative Vision thinking I wouldn't get it.
Yeah. Well done. It shows tenacity, and we're so happy to have you. So it's a blessing for both sides.
Yes.
I mean, I think it shows tenacity. It's that element where sometimes you do get rejected, and you do. We had this conversation in previous segments that we did, whereby try and do the best and be the best version of you always, because the right thing will come.
Yeah.
The right work, the right opportunity will come for you. And I think sometimes the tendency is when you get those no's, people lose heart, isn't it? And then they're like, well, no one wants me. But then actually your breakthrough is just there.
It's close.
It's close, you know, and so well done on that.
Thank you.
Do we have any comments so far, Natasha, from members?
We do.
Yeah.
What a mixture. So
Okay.
it's been horrible.
Yeah.
I second that. Very.
Challenging, practical, and stressful. But on the other hand, lots of learning about yourself and resilient.
Yeah. Brilliant, definitely. And this is what it's about. It's not, you know, we're not sitting here and saying, hey, I don't think anyone can say it's been, I think there are people, Zoom can tell you it's been a fantastic year. I mean, they can tell you that. It's been a fantastic year for them.
Yeah.
Their profits went up by
definitely.
over 100%.
Yeah.
So there are people who definitely, in every problem there are opportunities. I think in the midst of the problems, it's what have we learned and what do we see as the opportunities that we can take to 2021 in a sense. So Chaz, for you, when you heard about us adapting services, how did you feel, and what was the feedback from members in the sense?
Well, for me it was a happy moment, because the basics was there from Croydon Vision. The core was there. We will not let you, we will always come to you, we will always communicate with you. And that was fantastic. And the feedback I've had so far is the befriending and the meals, and they feel so much apart that there is someone who cares about them, someone who thinks about it, and that is a big difference, which we've never up to now had to experience, because as you know, we're being very self-supporting units, but not at the present moment. Although their families are close by, they have to keep things on the doorstep, or they have to phone. That personal contact is not, which you have provided in this last period. which is great. That's the feedback I've had.
I think it's a teamwork, and you are part of that team. See, I call volunteers and staff are one. It's a teamwork. And I remember when we all sat down and I knew we were going to close the doors, but I also knew there was no way we were going to close service. Like, there was no way. What then happens to our members? So, it's been great having volunteers as well as staff being part of that and say, okay, how are we going to adapt this?
Yeah.
And what can we provide? Realistically, what can we provide to make sure that if it was challenging for you and you're able and sighted, what happens to someone who isn't?
Yeah.
And can't go to the shop, social distancing, or their health might be a factor where they can't go to the shop, and maybe the carer is scared and doesn't come in.
Right.
So what happens to that person? If they can't eat well, then they fall down and then they end up in hospital, and then other matters happen, in their lives. So it was never, to me, service we were not going to close. It wasn't an option of saying we were going to close. To do what?
Yeah.
In that sense.
Yeah.
So it's been a lesson, a lot of lesson learned, and I am so appreciative of my team in just how galvanized we've been. Some of this we did not know anything of what we were doing, and by the grace of God we just went for it, and things just started to fall in place. Some things didn't, and we learned from them.
Yeah.
In that sense. Good. So, talk to me now. How would you say, what did you learn in the sense of, I know some people are saying I took on a new hobby, some are doing craft, some are doing different things. Not that I'm in any area of that, because, those are not my forte. But what did you feel like you learned, or a hobby you took on during lockdown?
Well, I've learned to listen a lot.
Why is
which
that?
I haven't done in the past.
Okay.
I have listened a lot, and I do listen a lot to my children, to my grandchildren.
Right.
Although I go over the top advising them not to do this and not to do that. But that's more fear than anything else, of not knowing what is there out there.
Right.
But in those terms, I care to listen to them all the time.
Okay.
And they give me the confidence to say, look, it's not as bad as you feel it is.
Yes.
And that has been of an older ilk or an older age.
Good. I want to learn from you. Seriously.
Well, it's listening a lot too. I listen a lot now, which I never used to. And I must thank you for this, because if you can remember, about 7 or 8 weeks before we closed, you came and had a chat about discerning, remember?
Yes.
And from that day I decided that I would take that principle without casting an aspersion. Straight away I said, look, I will discern first and then go from there. So thank you.
Bless you, Chaz. I've learned a lot from you, and I'm still learning. You're a man of wisdom. Now we have some treats, guys. like Catherine is at the door with the cheese twist and the cake that they've just made in the kitchen. Don't be jealous, guys. Don't be jealous. Just enjoy it virtually with us. That looks really good.
It does look good.
Yeah. So thank you,
That's okay.
Catherine. How was it in the kitchen?
It was a really easy clean up as well, which is good. Always good. Not too much time.
Smells lovely. The raisin, you can smell it. Oh, yes. Okay, so what we have is cheese twist, and that's Christmas. It's more
It's a Christmas
Christmassy
cake.
cake, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a fruit cake with the spices in. We did a little bit of substitution,
right.
so it should have been mixed spice and cinnamon, but we used cinnamon and nutmeg.
Oh.
It smells really nice, doesn't it? Yeah.
But it was all cooked in the microwave in a mug. That's the mug cake. But I'll let you go back. I just thought I'd bring it up.
But thank
If you'd
you.
like to have a
I'm
taste
sure we will. We will have a taste of it. So, any comments in there, Natasha, that we?
Some just really struggled seeing their family and found it a very difficult time.
Yeah.
That was one comment that came through.
Yeah. It is a hard one, isn't it? hopefully 2021. Hey guys, hopeful. The year of possibilities. That's my line for 2021. 2020 was clarity and chaos.
Yeah.
2021 the year of possibilities. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
What would you do differently if you could
From this year?
From this year.
Okay, so I think following what you said earlier, I think I would have tried to continue to have that resilience.
Right.
And keep my spirits high, knowing that, trusting in God, knowing that God has us, and that we will get through it. Like as a community, as one, as people, we will get through it. That there will be an end. Nothing lasts forever. I wish I had kept that mentality at some points. And I also wish, because one thing that I learned from this year, or I took on from this year, was actually learning to appreciate my family more, because I'm quite a busy person naturally. I'm not really home much, so I was forced obviously to be at home this year, but it was really good. It was like amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it, but it was amazing to be at home with my family so much. And I wish I'd done that earlier. I wish I'd appreciated them a lot earlier.
Yeah.
So that's something that I won't ever change now.
Good. And I think that's what it is about, isn't it? It's like we say here, it's a bricks and cliques organization now. And that's not going to change. Look what we're doing. We were never. Last year this time, we were closing down.
Yeah.
Actually, it was Christmas party last year this time. Everyone had a good time, and we just thought, yeah, the year's done, have a 2 weeks break, and that'll be it. Look at where we are today. Got Natasha, who is going on with technology, Ola there. I mean, we have a studio,
Right.
so it just shows you that from the midst of chaos can bring positive things.
Right.
And it's the mindset. And I think you probably underestimate yourself, because you did not fall in the sense of just going in. I mean, we all go into a pit, and it's how deep you allow that pit to swallow you,
Right.
isn't it?
Right.
But you got a job in the midst of COVID, so I wouldn't. I think you probably felt that you were in a pit, yet still somehow there was still room to still breathe and do things.
Yeah.
So well done on that. Some people might have just gone deeper and deeper, and it would not even Ola can help them.
I actually went into probably bigger of a pit than she did.
Yeah.
Because it was two news for me. It was the COVID news that wasn't really affecting anyone, because I was at work. And they were saying, okay, you're going into lockdown, and we're thinking, oh, everyone's going to get to go home and we'll get paid for being at home. And then all of a sudden we're hearing that the company's closing down as well.
Yeah.
So it was both news at the same time just hit. So no job. The interviews that I had a couple of interviews with Deloitte. I finished one. I got to the last stage that I was supposed to go into the office with them. They called me and said, we're going to have to do it on phone call. We did that, and then I had another interview with them, and they had to call me. I'm like, okay, so every interview we have with you, we're going to put it on freeze, because now we're on a hiring freeze. And then that was it. I did so many interviews, so many job applications. In fact, the week before I got this job, I was going for a job that I didn't even want. I was just thinking, I need money, so I'll just take any job that I can get at this point. And I was literally on the bus to this interview when they texted me and said, we've gotten someone.
Wow.
They were the one that called me that day and said, you can get on the bus and come there. And then they said, oh, never mind, we've gotten someone already. And I was so pissed. I came off, I just sat down at McDonald's for like an hour. I was just there like, what am I supposed to do now?
Wow.
Well, the right one was there for you, waiting for you.
A week later.
I feel like there would, with that question that you asked, that would you change anything this year? If I'm being honest, I wouldn't, because I feel like the whole thing has been a process.
Yes.
And there's some things that I had before that I kind of took for granted,
Yes.
like being able to explain things to people that don't understand and having the patience to explain it to them.
Yeah.
Because when I came for the interview here and then I had to do the one with Ode, I was so happy, because I'm like, I do this every day, so it's not a big deal for me. But on a normal day, if you had said, "Oh, this is one of your skills," I'd be like, "It's a natural thing that you should have." There's so many things that I had that I was just been taking for granted,
Yeah.
and then it's just been a growing process. Like now, I feel like there's nothing that can happen in 2021 that could be worse than what happened this year.
There
I can
you
literally
go.
take anything.
There you go. There you go. Well done on that. So I have a question for you then, Natasha. How did you manage to keep sane and keep your well-being intact? How did you know when you were losing the balance of well-being, and what did you do about it?
Eat and run. Yeah, I really enjoy running. I did quite a lot during April. Just fresh air, exercise, scenery, and just having peace of mind. Just kind of let out that energy and just recuperate, ready for the next day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Good.
love food, so food kind of
Balance.
stores me up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we all know Natasha here. She loves food. Yeah. So okay, how about we think now? Then we've all talked about some of the things that has happened in 2020. Now, when you look at 2021, first and foremost, what do you think? Like, how do you feel when you think 2021? What comes to mind?
For me, it's got to be positive.
Yeah.
It's got to be positive,
Exactly.
positive. There's no stopping with the positives. It's got to be a progression in positives.
Yeah.
And when you reach that peak, you say, right, fair enough. This is the limit. Now we can start
Yes.
petering off.
Yes.
Yeah.
But to me, it would be positive.
Yeah. Definitely. And I think that's the mindset, isn't it?
It is.
Because the surroundings around you may not be, if your mindset is fixed and saying, you know what, it's not that you're dismissing what's around you, but I'm going to safeguard my mind
Yes.
and make sure that
Yeah.
I keep positivity in my life.
And
in
it
that
also reflects the thoughts of Makera and Sally, our friend of
Ola.
and Ola.
Yeah.
The constant and non-forgiving attitude, I will get something, and I will get something, and I will do something positive.
Yes.
And that's fantastic.
Yes.
For me, that
Yes.
is great.
Yeah.
That to me is a forerunner.
No, definitely. I totally agree. It all starts with the mind. It all starts with the mind, definitely. What about you?
I think it's being hopeful and being ready.
Yeah.
Just being ready for what the year brings. So starting with a positive mindset will allow whatever comes to just transition into what you want it to be really. And it will be a lot easier as a team for us to support each other with that mindset. So I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
What about you?
2021?
What do you feel?
To me, storms, I love storms, I know. I love storms because they grow you. I mean, when things are sailing, it's nice sometimes to pause. To pause, to reflect and say,
that's nice.
it's in the storm that you grow.
It's in the storm
And
that
for me,
you grow.
2020
And
has
for
been
me,
about
2020
growth
has
in
been
many
about
ways.
growth in many ways. It's enabled me to be flexible in ways and think what is the right thing to do rather than what's the rule.
Yeah.
What's the,
It's just
you know,
my mindset
it's
has
just
shifted
my
in many
mindset has
ways that
shifted in
I
many
don't want to
ways
be
that
the person
I don't want to be the person I was in February.
You know, it's like, who was that?
You know, it's like,
in some ways,
I mean, the core of me is there,
the
you know,
mindset has shifted in many ways, and so 2021 is like, bring it on. It's the year of possibilities. That's been my line in everything that I've written so far. The last few days,
it's the year of
you know,
possibilities, and so that's kind of how I see
and
2021.
doesn't mean the
And
challenges
doesn't mean the challenges are going to be
it's
there.
going to be.
Yeah, it's going to
It's
be.
just that they're not going.
It's
to
just that they're not going to
consume
consume me and overtake
I'm
me.
going to.
I'm going to
by the grace of
conquer
God.
by the grace of
And
God.
if
Yes,
I
Lord.
preparation,
And by
I've got this
preparation.
three
I've got this
prayer
3
planning,
P's. It's
preparation.
prayer, planning,
You know,
preparation.
you do that,
You know,
you
you
do that. There's nothing
Yes,
there's
nothing
nothing
right.
So that's kind of
In
how
that
I-
sense.
I
So that's
see
kind of how I see
Challenges will
2021.
be there,
That challenges will be there,
It will
definitely.
be, but it's
It
about
will be.
safeguarding
But it's about
yourself
safeguarding
and helping
yourself
your
and
team
helping your team.
and then be real. When
And
the
then be
times
real
are not
when the times
fine
are not
and you don't feel
fine and you don't feel
to
fine.
be at a place where you can
To
say,
be
you
at
know
a place where you can say, you know what?
Not there this
Not-
week.
not-
I know I'm gonna come out of it,
Yeah.
but not there this week. So I need support.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm being together to get that support you need. Yeah. So now I'm gonna ask these techie people that are here. What personal qualities do you want to strengthen? 2021.
Multitasking.
I will concur to that one.
Mm.
Voila. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's harder than it looks.
It's
It really is.
especially there's surveys that have demonstrated.
It really is.
Yeah. You need to lean more to people who multitask. Do you know who the people who multitask tend to be? Who in the team multitask well? Who? Ola, you're on camera.
Michaela.
Okay. Right, okay, there you go. So that's about it. Iron sharpens iron. Yeah? You need multitasking? There you go. You got someone. What about you, Natasha?
Delegation and communication.
Yeah?
Good ones.
Good. Anything we have on the chat for members in the sense of where they're at, whether it's 2020, what are they looking forward to, 2021?
To be honest with you, not yet. If you want to iron up the cake. A lot of comments on the cake.
I like that.
Oh my!
That is
Would,
natural.
would it be really unkind if we start to delve into the cake? That would be unkind. So we're just gonna smell the aroma of it, and yes. So okay, now with hope, right? What places do you want to visit 2021?
Jamaica.
Okay.
Yes.
Myself to Jamaica to watch the cricket.
Ah, look,
To
I've got the
watch,
team
to
there.
watch
Like
the
mine.
cricket.
To watch the cricket.
Yes.
Okay. When
Yes.
does it happen?
It happens. I think it happens when it's a very hot season over there. I forget which one is that.
June,
June, July.
I love cricket,
Yeah.
so I would be up for
Yeah.
that too.
All right, June,
Mm.
July. Yeah. So
Yes.
there you go. Great hope.
Yes.
Keep the goal.
Keep the goal there.
Keep the vision.
Yeah.
You've made it plain.
Yes.
Keep it. Just keep the vision.
Because I've never been there to watch the cricket. Although I love the West Indian team, I've never been there, and it's absolutely fantastic. For those who've
Okay.
been here.
All right. Well, that's good. So June, July, cricket, Jamaica.
In Jamaica.
In Jamaica. All right. So, and I have another one. What will you step out of your comfort zone? I like the pause. It's nice, yes.
I think for me, I have a habit of second guessing myself, second guessing my decisions, or just kind of not walking with confidence. I'm going to step out of that because it doesn't actually benefit me. And I think being here, working at Coordinate Vision, and the people that we have in the team, just learning and watching from people in the team who do have that in their nature, it's been good. So I will emulate that in the new year, and that's what I'll be stepping out of.
Yeah, there's always a movement happening
Yes.
at Coordinate Vision.
Yeah.
I always say that. Yeah. So, do you find it easier to talk to people about them stepping out of their comfort? So, for instance, children, young people.
Right.
Talk to me about that.
So the children and young people, it's been really interesting because meeting them, so I've been able to meet them face to face and then obviously speak to them virtually when we've had our activities. But when I've met them face to face, I've seen some who were really confident straight off the bat. And then I've had a couple of children who were maybe a bit apprehensive. They hadn't met me before, and also the activity that they were doing made them feel a little bit wary because they hadn't done it before. Then when we've done Zoom calls later on, they've felt more familiar,
Okay.
which is really, really nice. Like, it's nice to see some of them like turning their cameras on and actually getting involved. That's a big deal. And I feel like for children, face-to-face is really important.
Yes.
Because for adults, us doing virtual, we can easily just, turn on our computers and get to speaking. But for children, they really like the interaction. So for them to actually come onto the Zoom activities and speak to each other and, be screaming and smiling and laughing, it's been really nice to see. That has been a great transition to see, alongside their confidence of coming out of their shells. I think it might have actually helped them.
Yes.
Which is something we wouldn't have been able to guess beforehand because it wasn't something we would have tried. So
No, definitely. And so, talk to me in terms of 2021, with children, young people. What's the one activity that you look forward to?
Okay, so I'm definitely looking forward to the theatre workshop that we have.
Yeah.
I think it's going to help them to explore themselves just as individuals.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really enjoyable to teach them.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, we're looking forward to more of the children, young people, definitely. It's nice to see them, how they're getting on. And just Chaz, what do you want to become next year? When you think about, let's say you're sitting down at the studio next year this time round, what would you say? Yeah, that's what I wanted. I know you want to visit Jamaica.
Yeah.
What would you want to become?
Well, I want to be more helpful and more progressive. At the present moment, I'm very static.
Okay.
And that's because of the group that I am with.
Yeah.
They're not being active, so I can't be active. But I want to step out of that.
Mm.
In other words, get more involved with Croydon Vision.
Yes.
In the major Croydon Vision,
Yeah.
not just Eddington.
Okay. Yeah.
That
I give you a whole checklist by.
And
end
I
of
need
next week.
I need to energize myself.
I'm just joking.
No, I need to energize myself
Energize
because
yourself.
at
yeah?
82 things are beginning to slow down and I don't like it.
Does it look
Do not.
anything 82?
Definitely not.
It doesn't, does it?
And I do not like it. And my
Okay.
wife gets embarrassed when I say that I'm 82. Don't say that. But I don't, because there's nothing to just trust in God and be 82 and do the necessary. But I need to be more actively involved and more progressive.
Well, we have our new volunteer officer who's coming on board in January. Her name is Nadine. So you meet her in January, and I'm sure we can make you as active as you want to be.
Yes.
Without, we're leaving you some time to listen, to hope to go to Jamaica, and all the other things that you want to do. Do we have any questions or anything on? Because we're gonna soon wrap up.
Not questions. We've got comments. People looking forward to break pools. Not to worry. A lot of comments about travelling and going to new places and meeting new people.
Yes.
And travelling to see family as well.
Yes, yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Well, so it's been really lovely having a conversation with you guys.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure we can sit here and have so much more conversation, So thank you, and thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Ola, for your techie support in there. Thank you to Catherine and Aisha in the kitchen who've given us this delicious food, which we will enjoy it with love, thinking of you guys, yeah? We will, yeah? But anyway, just we have events next week, which is it's actually Christmas Eve. And there's so much celebration going on, lots of different videos that have been put together and entertainment to keep you, and we also have our Christmas campaign next week, which is the 24th. We're looking to serve 140 something meals to our members and provide them with we've already provided them with Christmas cards and a small gift, and just to say thank you for the year and to say we're thinking of you. We are going to remain open at Croydon Vision throughout the year. It will be a bit of a skeleton service, so it's not full service, but we are here. The reception will be open. So please do give us a call if you need any support or any help. We're here for you. On that note, I'm not going to say Merry Christmas because we're here next week. But for anyone who may not be here next week, Merry Christmas, isn't it? In that sense. So thank you all very much, and look forward to 2021 with possibilities. Yes. Thank you.